Hello, everybody. Thank you all for joining us again, coming back for Module 3. Today, we're going to be going over a few questions that are similar to those that you're going to find in the Module 3 scenario. So again, my name is Nick, and I'm here with my good friend, Jeneene.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Module 3. We hope we can help. So Nick, you want to just get started?
Yeah, so without further ado then, let's go ahead and get started.
Okay. All right, Nick, so what do we have here?
So today we're going to be calculating energy provided from a TPN script, total parenteral nutrition script. So let's convert these values into the calories that they're going to provide for the baby during the TPN.
Got it. And then I guess just a couple of quick things when we're discussing TPN and just the terminology that we are going to use and the proper terminology that should be used when you're discussing any type of parenteral nutrition in the NICU. We all know that amino acids they're broken down, but it's our protein source for the NICU, for the preterm babies, and dextrose is our source of carbohydrates. However, it's very important not to verbally use carbohydrates and proteins when discussing parenteral nutrition. That's more so used when discussing enteral nutrition. Would you agree, Nick?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in parenteral nutrition, these nutrients aren't going to be readily provided into the digestive tract, so there's no way to break it down. So we are providing the TPN in amino acids and dextrose because they are the already broken down form of protein and carbohydrates so that we can actually utilize them.
Yeah, so it's broken down because it's going through an IV and straight directly into blood circulation. So in order for the babies to be able to properly metabolize it, it needs to be in the form of amino acids, dextrose, and then obviously the lipids.
Yeah, so, that's very important. So thank you for pointing that out. So class, I just want to encourage you to work along with us, maybe pause the video, to do some of the work yourselves and learn how to do it on your own, not only just watching us.
Definitely. I think it's going to help if you're actually writing this down and going step by step with us.
Yeah, so without more hesitation, let's get started then. Let's convert the amino acids to calories.
Okay, let's start. What do we do first, Nick?
So let's go ahead and take this example of a TPN script and figure out the amount of energy that we are getting from this TPN script for each of the nutrients. So let's start off with the amino acids.
Okay.
So we have 3.5 grams per kilogram per day of amino acids. Now, Jeneene, do you remember how many calories per gram we're going to get from the amino acids?
I knew you were going to ask me that. And I honestly have to always have this written down because I always forget, but I believe it's 4, right?
You are believing correctly.
Okay.
1 gram of amino acids is going to give us 4 calories. Yeah, 4 calories.
4 calories.
1 gram of amino acids. 1 gram of amino acids is going to give us 4 calories.
Okay.
So in this case, we have 3.5 grams per kilogram per day. So we're going to multiply this by 4 calories per 1 gram. And in doing so, the grams will cancel out, and 3.5 times 4 will give us 14 calories per kilogram per day of amino acids.
Okay. That's
simple. So that's simple. It's my favorite one. So let's go ahead and take note of that and move on to the dextrose.
Okay. All right, so our dextrose, we have 11 milligrams per kilogram per minute. So this one definitely seems a little bit more complicated.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
So
we want our final answer in calories per kilogram per day because we're looking for the energy, of course. So we just want to keep that in mind as we're moving along. So let's just write out the dextrose. There's a lot of moving parts in this problem, so you want to make sure you're organized. I know we don't have like colors and all the time, but I do now, so I'm going to make use of it. So the first thing we want to do here is convert the milligrams to grams.
Okay.
So to do that, we're going to take the 11 milligrams per kilogram per minute. And how do we convert milligrams to grams? It's been a while.
You divide by 1,000, right?
Yes. Yeah, you're right. We divide by 1,000, and that's the same thing as multiplying by 1 gram over 1,000 milligrams. So the milligrams this time, which would give us.
So the milligrams cancel out.
And then we divide the 11 by 1,000.
1,000.
Give us 0.011 grams per kilogram per minute.
Got it.
Okay, so that's the first step. Now that we have this value, we want to convert the minutes to days because our final answer is going to be in calories per kilogram per day. So let's go ahead and do that.
Okay.
So we need to determine, but before we do those calculations, we need to figure out how long this TPN script is going to be running. And that's not provided in the answer, or rather in the question. But TPN scripts can run between 22 hours, 23 hours, sometimes 24 hours per day. We don't know exactly for this question, so we're just going to assume that it's running for 24 hours a day. Okay. So we have 24 hours. And how many minutes are in 1 hour?
60 minutes.
60 minutes. So we're just going to multiply this to determine how many minutes are in the full day. Should give us 1440 minutes per day. Okay. So let's go back up here and rewrite what we have. And I'm just going to rewrite it in this format. And this is the same as the above here. Nothing is different.
Okay.
So we're going to multiply the 0.011 grams per kilogram per minute times 1440 minutes per day.
Nice.
And when we write it like this, we can see that the minutes can easily be canceled.
That's what I was going to say.
So, sorry.
No, that's fine. I'll just try to make sense of it too while we're doing it. So.
Okay. So we're just going to multiply the 0.011 by 1440.
Let's see what I get.
For a total of 15.84 grams. And remember, this is going to be per kilogram per day because those are both on the bottom of it. They're in the denominator.
Got it.
So grams per kilogram per day. Are we done?
No, because we need calories, not grams.
Not yet. We need it in calories, right? But we have it in grams per kilogram per day. So we're almost there. We only need to convert the grams to calories. So the question of the day here, how many calories will 1 gram of dextrose provide us?
Oh, man. Okay. It's 3.4. 3.4.
3.4. Are you sure it's not 4?
I always get those two confused, but no, you're not going to trick me, Nicholas.
It can be confusing because, regularly when we think about this, we think it's 4 calories per gram of carbohydrate, but that's not the case. This time we're looking at dextrose. And in this manner, it would be 3.4 calories per gram of dextrose.
Yes.
So we're going to rewrite this part of the formula. Grams. Remember that this is the same as grams per kilogram per day. And we're going to multiply that by the 3.4 calories per gram. Now the grams are going to cancel. We're going to multiply the 15.4 times the 3.4, which would give us about 54 calories per kilogram per day.
Nice.
Okay, so those are just a few more things to consideration, but at the end of the day, it's not too rough. So let's just go ahead and move on to the next slide and calculate our lipids.
All right, moving on.
So just so we don't forget here, our amino acids was at 14 calories per kilogram per day, and our dextrose was 54 calories per kilogram per day. And lastly, our lipids would be 2.5 grams per kilogram per day. Jeneene, how many calories per gram will these lipids provide this infant?
Okay, I know this one. I know this one though. It's 9.
No.
Oh, no.
You're confusing it again with the regular
I was
nutrition.
confusing it. P 10.
TPN. So for this TPN, we are going to.
I was so sure.
For TPN, lipids are provide us 10 calories per gram.
Yes, yes, yes.
So here we have the 2.5 grams per kilogram per day multiplied by the 10 calories per gram. These are going to cancel.
Nice.
Multiply these, and we are left with 25 calories per kilogram per day.
Nice.
Perfect. So now we have our calories from all three sources. So we're just going to go ahead and add those up. So we have 14 from amino acids, plus 54 from dextrose, and 25 from lipids, which will give us a total of 93 calories per kilogram per day.
Yeah, that's what I got. Okay, so
beautiful.
Are we done?
Yeah, so we calculated the energy that this TPN script will provide us. So let's move on.
But now we have to see if this is actually like adequate, right?
Well, let's move on to the next slide.
Okay, so we got our answer. We have 93 kcals per kilogram per day. So is the energy adequate for an 800 gram infant?
Where can we find that out? How are we supposed to know if it's adequate?
So we have a couple of sources of normative data. The one that we're going to be using here is Ziegler, but there are other sources. There's ESPGHAN, and there's also the American Academy of Pediatrics, the AAP, that has normative data, correct?
Yes, yeah. But we're going to just look at the Ziegler's table here. It was based on his research, and I'm sure we'll have links for it, references. But let's go ahead and take a look then. So it's based off of the body weight of the infant. So we have an 800 gram infant, which means we're looking at this column right here. That's where he falls, he or she. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go down to where we see the intake. And we're looking at parenteral intakes. So we have 92 calories per kilogram per day is the parenteral requirement for an infant of this size. And we determined that the TPN strip will provide us 93 calories per kilogram per day. It's being run 24 hours, which means we're in the ballpark. We're good. So this TPN strip would be adequate for an infant of this size.
Nice.
Okay. Nice.
All right.
So let's move on. So let's move on to the next problem and see what else Dr. Abel has in store for us.
All right, Nick. So we have a sudden increase in triglycerides in a PN-fed 950 gram infant. May be indicative of what?
Well, since the infant is being fed lipids, we wouldn't be surprising that their triglyceride levels tend to fluctuate during that period. And recent research suggests that triglyceride levels of less than 250 milligrams per deciliter would be okay. It wouldn't result in any undesirable consequences in these infants being fed lipids intravenous, like in this case here. But in the event that they are too high, that can definitely be indicative of sepsis or stress upon the infant. So as this infant is being fed, we want to make sure that we are continually monitoring the triglyceride levels to make sure that it doesn't surpass that range and get into that possibly septic area.
Definitely. It's scary. So then she asks, if the plasma triglyceride concentration exceeds 250 milligrams per deciliter, what would you recommend with the following PN script? So it's given at a rate of 140 milliliters per kilogram, with amino acids at 4 grams per kilogram per day, dextrose at 12 milligrams per kilogram per minute, and lipids at 3 grams per kilogram per day. So automatically here, if the triglycerides are exceeding 250 milligrams, you think triglycerides, you always think fat. You think fat, you always think lipids. So my first go-to here would be to decrease the lipids. Would you agree, Nick?
Yeah, I definitely would. So if we were to decrease the lipids, let's see, maybe we can decrease it to, how far should we go? Maybe down to 1?
We shouldn't go down to 1 because we have a range, we have a set range and guidelines to follow. You have to keep it between 0.5 and 1 gram to alter it. So either adding or subtracting it. Because if you brought it down to 1 gram, they're not going to be getting the essential fats that the baby's going to need. And we all know how important fats can be. So I think that's definitely way too low.
Okay, you bring a good point. So then, if not 1, what would you suggest?
I would suggest going down just 1 and bring it down to 2 grams per kilogram per day.
Okay, well.
Should we try it out?
Well, I think that would be helpful. But in doing so, we have to remember that the infant still needs the adequate intake of energy. So we need to make sure that decrease in lipids to interrupt that required energy intake. So let's go ahead and test out this TPM script.
Okay.
Let's just rewrite the script that we have. So our amino acids was at 4 grams per kilogram per day. Our dextrose was at 12 milligrams per kilogram per minute. And our lipids is now going to be at 2 grams per kilogram per day. Okay, now we can calculate the energy that we'll receive from each of these infusions. So starting with the amino acids, we're going to do the 4 grams per kilogram per day and multiply it by that factor that we mentioned before, where each gram of amino acids is going to give us the 4 calories.
4 calories.
So it's 4 calories per 1 gram, which will leave us with a total of 16 calories per kilogram per day of amino acids.
Okay.
Okay, so let's move on to the dextrose, which is the long one. So we have our 12 milligrams per kilogram per minute. And the first thing we're going to do is get rid of that milligram. So we're going to convert it to grams by either dividing by 1,000 or multiplying by 1 over 1,000, which is what I'm going to do just so we can see the units. So multiply that by 1 over 1,000. In which we will get rid of the milligrams. In this case, 12 divided by 1,000, we're just going to move the decimal over 4 times. And we'll be left with 0.012 grams per kilogram per minute. Okay, next, again, we want the answers in calories per kilogram per day. So we're going to get rid of the minutes. And just like before, we're going to assume that this infant parenteral nutrition is going on for 24 hours a day. And like we calculated in the previous example, so that's going to give us 0.012 grams per kilogram per minute. Now we want to get rid of that minutes portion of the equation because remember we want our final answer to be in calories per kilogram per day. So we're going to convert the minutes to days. And once again for this, we're going to assume that the TPN is running for 24 hours. And like we calculated before, we have 1,440 minutes per day. So we're going to go ahead and multiply this by that 1,440 minutes per day.
And then Nick, while you're calculating this out, I did just want to mention, so like we said, we're assuming that this is a 24-hour cycle, continuous cycle. However, in the world of the NICU, this normally does not happen just because the babies do need a break from the PN. And so normally you have to pay attention when we're asked these questions on how to calculate the TPN script and really make sure if there is no actual amount of hours that is said in our equation, then we can assume that it's 24. But pay attention because if it does specify that it's 20 or 22 hours and you get that messed up and just go straight to using the 1,440 minutes, you will get this wrong and it could cost a baby's life. So we got to be very mindful of that.
Yeah. Like we said before, there's a lot of moving parts in these equations and you have to be conscious of all of them. And that's definitely one of them. One of the more important ones. So let's just go ahead and calculate this out. Now, remember the minutes are going to cancel, and that's going to leave us with a total of 17.28 grams per kilogram per day. Okay, but we're not done yet. We need to calculate the energy that we're going to get from that. So just looking at our units, we have the kilograms per day, which is what we need, it's missing the calories. So we're going to convert the 17.28 grams per kilogram per day, and we're going to multiply that by the amount of calories per 1 gram of dextrose, which, how many is that?
3.4.
3.4. So 3.4 calories per gram. The grams are going to cancel out, and that's going to give 8.75 calories per kilogram per day, but we're just going to go ahead and round that up a little to 59.
Got it.
Okay. And lastly, we have our lipids, which we decreased. So we're going to start off with 2 grams per kilogram per day. And remember, the conversion factor for lipids for calories per gram is going to be, so we're just going to multiply. So we're going to multiply this times 10 calories per gram. The grams are going to cancel. And we are left with 20 calories per kilogram per day. Okay, so let's just go ahead and add these together. So we have our 16 calories from the amino acids plus 59 calories of dextrose, and the 20 calories of lipids
gives you about 95.
Gives us about 95 calories per kilogram
Actually,
per day.
exactly 95.
What?
Exactly 95, not.
Okay. Okay. So let's see where we are on the normative data chart to see if that's adequate for this infant. So with a script of 4 grams of amino acids, 12 milligrams per kilogram per minute of dextrose, and 2 grams per kilogram per day of lipids, give us 95 calories per kilogram per day. And this infant is 950 grams. So let's take a look at that
between here.
column. Yep.
And then we're going to
go
down here.
all the way down to parenteral. And we have 101 calories per kilogram per day. So we are a little under our goal rate.
A little, I'd say it's a lot. So we definitely have to adjust here.
Yeah, we definitely have to adjust and make up for that loss. So okay. Why don't we look at our script again? Let's increase the lipids from 2 to 2.5 then.
Okay, well, we don't want to increase the lipids because the whole point of decreasing them was because the baby had high triglycerides.
Right. Okay, never mind. Why don't we take a look at the amino acids then? What if we tried increasing that to get more calories in?
Actually, definitely no. Because according to our guidelines, we should not exceed 4 grams per kilogram per day when you're using PN. So I think our only option, obviously, what we have left is dextrose. We can increase the dextrose.
So let's try that. Let's try a script with increased dextrose. And we're gonna keep the 4 grams of amino acids and the 2 grams of lipids. So if we had 12 milligrams per kilograms per day of dextrose, how much can we increase it by? What are we looking at?
Yeah, so we can increase it to at least one milligram. I would say 13. You don't want to increase it too much because then you don't want the baby to have high blood sugar. Okay.
So about 1 to 2, we're gonna stick with 1.
Let's stick with 1, yeah.
All right, so that's gonna give us 13 milligrams per kilogram per minute of dextrose. Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and see where the energy lands this time. So our amino acids, just like before, is going to give us the 16 calories. And the lipids gave us 20. Mm-hmm. So let's work with the dextrose. This time we have 13 milligrams per kilogram per day. And to get rid of the milligrams, we're going to multiply by 1 gram over 1,000 milligrams to give us 0.013 grams per kilogram per minute. Mm-hmm. And once again, we're just going to assume it's 24 hours here and multiply that by the 1440 minutes in 1 day. And the minutes are going to cancel out, and we're going to be left with 0.013 this time, times the 1440.
Let's see what we got.
Which will give us
about 18.72.
0.72 grams per kilogram per day. Okay, but we're not done. We need to find out the calories, of course. So again, we're just going to multiply that by the conversion factor for calories per gram of dextrose, which is 3.4 calories for every 1 gram. And our grams this time are going to cancel out, and we will be left with
about 64. Yeah, 64. 63.648.
Which will leave us with about 64 calories per kilogram per day of dextrose.
Okay, so now we just add that up with our amino acids and our lipids and see what we get.
So we take the 16 calories from the amino acids plus the 20 from the lipids and the 64 from dextrose, which will provide us with a total of?
Gets us 100.
100 calories per kilogram per day. So let's see where that falls in our normative data.
So we're looking at this column here.
We're going to go straight down to the parenteral. And we need 101 calories per kilogram per day for this infant. And we're at 100. So we're very close. We're not far off at all. And I think that was a great way of changing the script in response to what the baby's triglyceride levels were.
Yeah, hopefully it helps. And guys, we really hope that we helped you out in regards to doing your own PN calculations for our assignments. If you still have trouble, please make sure to reach out to Dr. Abel. She'll be more than happy to make a Zoom meeting with you guys and go into more detail. But we wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much, Nicholas, for being our math guru.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you for spending this time with me.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time then.
All right, see you next time. Thank you, guys.
Bye.